Welcome back to the Poris Pod. I'm Aaron Poris, and remember, before we begin, to subscribe, like, etc., to support the channel and to keep up to date with what comes out. Now, today in the Middle East, we have millions of Palestinians returning to the northern Gaza in accordance with the ransom deal agreed to by Hamas and Israel. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, it seems that tensions are only heating up with IDF and indeed Palestinian Authority forces coordinating operations against Hamas and other terror groups across Judea and Samaria. And finally, to Israel's north, Lebanese citizens are attempting to return to their homes in the south in violation of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, or rather, Israel and Hezbollah. Israel having extended its military presence south of the Litani River, as the Lebanese armed forces have yet to take full control away from Hezbollah. That said, the world is still tentatively looking forward to the day that some sort of peace can break out between all of the aforementioned powers. With me to discuss these topics and more is none other than Dr. Mordechai Kedar, expert and researcher on the Middle East and Islam at the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies, Bar-Ilan University, Lieutenant Colonel Reserves in the IDF Intelligence Corps, and Vice President of Newsreal, the 24/7 news application covering Israel and the Arab and Islamic world. Dr. Kedar, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Pleasure to be here. Personally, I'm okay. Nationally, we'll be okay.
All right. Well, with that, I want to jump right in, and I want to get first and foremost your reaction to actually something that came out about you in the Palestine Chronicle. Quote, Mordechai Kedar's views on Palestinian resistance reveal a deep misunderstanding of Palestinian culture and resolve, which continues to defy Israeli military power and ideology. Kedar is promoted in Israeli media and academic circles as a leading expert on Arabic culture, literature, and the socio-political landscape of Palestine and the Arab world. However, the former lieutenant colonel of the Israeli army is nothing more than an old-school Orientalist. He studies the quote-unquote other to understand their weaknesses with the hope of breaking them down through a presumed deep cultural knowledge of their thinking and way of life. And it continues later saying, aside from Kedar's poor understanding that not every Palestinian flashing a victory sign is a member of Hamas, and his Orientalist reference to the mosque, as if Palestinians can only express their culture through religious symbols, Kedar's sentiment is shared by many Israeli intellectuals. In fact, in many ways, it defines mainstream thinking in Israel and still does. Your reaction?
Look, in our world, there is a very important habit to show every failure as a victory. And they can, manipulate everything by words, by expressions, by all kinds of gestures. And they are sure, they are more than sure that they are the best and they had a victory, and while they are deep in the mud. Okay, self-criticism is a very weak point in the Arab culture. Usually, people there blame the others for their own shortcomings, and of course, who is better to blame than Mordechai Kedar, who understands about them more than they understand about themselves in some cases. And look, I'm not saying that you can generalize. In the Arab world, there are many intellectuals, many people who are westernized, are modern, yet there are many others who do not share the westernized people's ideas, and they are still living in the Islamic beliefs, or the traditional beliefs, and the tribal beliefs, and all kinds of styles of life, which actually tear the Arab world apart between the modern people who more, in most cases, studied in the West, in France, in Britain, in America, and they actually internalized the Western culture to an extent, Western values, Western ways of thinking, while the majority of their own people are still live in the Middle Ages, unfortunately. But this is what happens. So when I show them the truth about their own societies, they don't like it. So they blame me for not understanding the Arab world. Okay.
All right, so I want to move on actually to some more analysis of Gaza and the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, etc. Specifically, I want to jump into President Trump's recent comments about quote unquote cleansing Gaza or cleaning out Gaza and pressuring other Arab states to absorb Palestinian refugees. We know obviously already that Jordan and Egypt have refused. Is this a policy that do you think can have any measure of success? Is this something that any in Gaza would even consider? Uh, and is it not ethnic cleansing, as many Israel critics contend?
Look, first of all, as we speak today, a state like Chile, South America, hosts, I saw recently the figure, around 700,000 Palestinians. Only Chile.
Hmm.
Is this considered ethnic cleansing? They move. Look, there are a million Israelis in North America. So is this considered to be ethnic cleansing? When people
Well,
are
I think
moving to
I
place
mean
to place?
I could argue, however, that Israelis have the right of return to Israel proper, and that the Palestinians who are considered refugees in places like Chile, which we can argue whether or not they are refugees, because obviously that's
No, no, no. They
more
went
likely in
by their
UNRWA
own will.
definition, yeah. But that they don't have a right to return to either the Palestinian Authority or Gaza. Or I'm not sure if they do. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Well, this myth about Palestinian refugees, maybe it's time to deal with this. Many, I would say most, of the people who are called Palestinians carry names like El Masri, means the Egyptian, Mastarwa, Egyptians in plural, Al Khorani, from the Quran in Syria, Al Halabi, from Aleppo, Tarabulsi, from Tripoli in Lebanon, Sidawi, from Sidon in Lebanon, Sorani, Sor means tire in Lebanon, Al Hijazi, from the Hijaz in Saudi Arabia. Many more names which testify that they are not originally Palestinians. Most of them moved to what the so-called Palestine to work mainly in the Jewish kibbutzim and moshavim and the farms which were established in the land of Israel as of the 80s of the 19th century. Petah Tikva was established in 1882. So many Arabs, Bedouin Arabs from all over the area, came to work in construction in Tel Aviv also, which was established in 1909 when the Ottoman Empire was still in this area. Rishon LeZion, Rehovot, Rosh Pina, all these were established in the 80s of the 19th century. So many of them heard that there is work, they can work here and gain good money. They migrated to this place, just like they do today to Europe and to America and to many other places in the world, because there is work, unlike what happens in their own countries. Let alone those Egyptians who ran away from Egypt because they didn't want to work or to be forced to work in the digging of the Suez Canal in the mid-19th century. So there were many migrants who testified that they are not originally from here. So yes, I do support the right of return to their original countries. Yes.
All right, then, but again, that doesn't answer the second part of my question, which is how feasible is that? Because obviously Egypt, Jordan, many other countries have already said that they refuse. We know from history that many of these countries actually expelled Palestinians for various reasons, primarily in Jordan's case, the attempted assassination or the assassination of their former king. Uh, uh, in Kuwait for supporting Saddam, etc. So how can you force these countries to take these people on? And again, the other part of my question is how many Gazans do you think would actually go for this?
Well, even before the war erupted in October 7th, 2023, most of the Gazans, and this came with clips which they uploaded on YouTube, and the polls which were made in Gaza, most of them wanted to migrate from Gaza. because of Hamas, because Hamas was controlling them in an iron fist, and most of them wanted to leave Gaza, just like people left Syria to Jordan, to Lebanon, to Turkey, to Europe, to wherever they went. And to live under Hamas was no fun, ever. So many people from Gaza wanted to leave if they could. The problem was that the Egyptians didn't let them go through Egypt because the Egyptians are afraid of the Palestinians because they might settle in Egypt and spread havoc as they did in Gaza because Egypt is afraid. That's why I'm very sorry that President Trump did not coordinate it first with Jordan and Egypt to hear what they say before he announces that they should host these people. If he heard me, I already, like a year ago, I said that the country which should host all the Gazans is Qatar, because Qatar is responsible for what happened in Gaza. Qatar was the country which sponsored Hamas. Qatar is the country which actually promoted Hamas politically all over the world. Qatar actually is the country which is most responsible for the tragedy of Gaza and the Gazans. Therefore, Qatar should be coerced to take all the 269 airplanes which they are in the Qatari airline in order to bring the Gazans to Qatar within a week. I made the calculation. They need a week
Yeah,
easily.
I see that you did the math.
Yes. And believe me, in Qatar, as you know, since Qatar hosted the World Cup games in 2022, by the way, by deception and by bribery, they build many dormitories in order to host the players and the guests and the visitors and the tourists who came to watch those games in 2022. These dormitories are empty and waiting for the Gazans. In addition, there are many hotels in Qatar, which Qatar can host those people. And if it's not enough, Qatar can build easily houses very fast. They know how to do this. The Gazans could be, even the workers will work in construction in Qatar. After all, the Qataris don't work. They have foreign workers. So let the Gazans be the foreign workers in Qatar. Where is the problem exactly? After all, Qatar is responsible for what happened, for the tragedy in Gaza, more than any other country, including Israel. So this would be the most just or justful solution for the Gazans and for Qatar as well. But the problem is that Qatar has bought too many people, too many politicians, too many media people, too many influencers in America and in other countries as well. So nobody dares to touch Qatar. And only today, I watched a clip. Somebody claims, I have no idea if it's right or not, that Mr. Witkoff, the one who negotiated between Qatar and Israel and Egypt about the deal in Gaza, actually was sponsored by Qatar a few years ago when he went bankrupt, and Qatar actually saved him by investment of, I think the figure which was mentioned was over $600 million, which Qatar gave Witkoff as a real estate entrepreneur or something like this. I don't know the details. I just heard it. I have no idea if this is correct or not. I have no idea if this is right or false. Yeah. It has to be checked. So, but if this is correct, and Mr. Witkoff was, got six or any sum of money, sum of money from Qatar, it could be the reason why he represented Qatar in the negotiations about the swap of the hostages in Gaza. And this is very bad. If the man represents a country after he has all kinds of business with this, has to be checked. I have no idea if this is correct or not.
So it certainly does need to be checked. I don't really want to comment on accusations like that without more evidence. I do want to talk a little bit more about the deal itself and the role of Hamas moving forward, however, because uh, I don't see a reason that Hamas would give up all of the hostages. In my head, we have this agreement, and supposedly Hamas will give everybody up at some point, assuming everything goes
Mm.
well. And then I've heard from various sources, including peace activists like Moshe Chertoff, who I had on the podcast in the last episode, who talked about how Hamas has itself agreed in some form to relinquish its authority, step back, and maybe play a lesser part in a Palestinian governance in the future. What do you make of this?
I totally disagree. First of all, so far until today, as we speak, and we are speaking on the 28th of January, 2025, so far, Hamas have not yet given the full list of the hostages which are held by Hamas, by the Islamic Jihad, neither the people who are still alive nor those who are dead. Why didn't they give so far? Why didn't they give the list? Because in my view, they want to keep some of the hostages, especially the living hostages, forever. This is why they didn't give the list until today. I don't have any other explanation. This is the first thing. Second thing, I've never heard any Hamas leader or activist who even hints to the possibility that they actually give up on their
So it
governance.
was this was reported by Gershon Baskin.
Gershon Baskin, with all respect which I have to this peace dove, I'm not sure that he can be a reliable source about Hamas because he will justify Hamas for whatever they do. Unfortunately, um, Hamas published like 4 years ago a document about their policies. Many peace activists, like Gershon Baskin, came out with the announcement, oh, Hamas became a peace organization. Hamas accept Israel. Hamas accept the existence of Israel on the 1948 lines, and Israel has to withdraw because Hamas will have live peacefully with Israel. This is what people said, those peace activists, like Gershon Baskin. Yes, this was right. This is what the real deception, what Hamas tried to spread around in order to prepare for October 7th. And this is how these peace activists actually pushed Israel to believe that Hamas is changing their policy. Aaron, we saw
Hmm.
what happened because these good-willing people, good-hearted people, fell in this pit, or the trap, which Hamas put in front of them. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that Gershon Baskin speaks Arabic. Most of those peace activists have no idea what Hamas are saying actually, because what they say in Arabic, not everything is translated. They don't understand the messages of Hamas. They don't understand the mindset of Hamas. Unfortunately, they are good people. Most of them speak Hebrew in English or American accent. They came from America. They think that they understand something in the Middle East, but unfortunately, their understanding is very shallow, and they tend to believe that everything which is said in the Arab world is pure truth.
So I mean, is a return to the war in Gaza inevitable?
As long as Hamas have the power in Gaza, as long as Hamas are in Gaza as a fighting power, the next October 7 is only a matter of time. Read my
So
lips.
so let's take that and extend it into the West Bank then, because obviously we have Uh,
But by the way, it could take a long time. Don't forget,
sure.
since Hamas took Gaza over, it was June 2007
Mm.
until October 2023. It means 16 and a half years. They have patience. And very patiently, they built their power in order to use it, not in order to use it in the parades in Gaza.
So again, then
They
I want to extrapolate what you're saying to the West Bank because obviously Hamas has a presence in the West Bank. I know a lot of people love to deny that in conversations that I've had. Why is Israel operating in the West Bank? There's no Hamas there. It's like, yes, there is. Um, uh, and the Palestinian Authority is actually even coordinating with Israel, of course, in combating their encroachment on authority there. And then we also have
incorrect,
incorrect.
incorrect. The Palestinian Authority actually sponsors terror, as you know.
They sponsor terror, but they are working in conjunction with Israel in order to maintain its own
No,
authority.
no, only when Israel gives them very pinpointed information. Go catch somebody before we do it, so they do it.
Mm,
They never initiate any action against terror, especially by Hamas. They
mm,
never do it. They do only what they are being ordered by Israel. Otherwise, Israel will do it. So this is one thing. Second thing, every Hamas activist and terrorist who got killed, his family will be sponsored by the Palestinian Authority, not by Hamas, forever.
mm.
They get salary
Yeah, with the
every
pay for
month.
slay. Correct.
Okay, so how can somebody think that they act against the terror if they sponsor the terrorists and their families?
Mm,
Now, if I gave 1 penny, one single penny to somebody who murdered somebody because he murdered them, I go to jail. I go to jail. Abu Mazen, the president of the PA, gives billions, for 20 years already,
mm.
to the families and to those who are still alive, in jail, for example, who killed the Israelis. And he is safe and sound. How come? It's mind-boggling.
So how do you foresee, what predictions do you have for the makeup of the Palestinian entities for both Gaza and the West Bank moving forward, particularly as the PA is not as cooperative as they may seem, and as UNRWA has until really just a couple days from now to vacate the premises in Israel
Right.
proper.
Look, since Hamas is no partner, since the PA is a false partner, the only partner which Israel has, and which Israel had and has still has, and will have, is their families. The frameworks of the clans in Judea and Samaria. As
Mm,
you know, the Palestinian society is very clannish. Clans could be dozens of thousands of people. In Hebron, for example, there are 5 major clans: Al-Jabari, Kawasme, Nache, Tamimi, Abu Snena. They live with peace with each other. They actually are the masters of the scene on the ground, not the PA, not Hamas. Israel can sit with them and come to terms with them. They can establish an emirate in Hebron. And actually, there are voices who are calling to do this exactly and to join the Abraham Accords. There are clans in Nablus who seek no problem with neither with Israel nor with anybody else. And definitely they can have an emirate in Nablus as well, separate. Another one in Jericho for the Arikat clan. Another one in Ramallah for the Barghouti, Abu Ain, and the Tawil, who are the main clans of Ramallah. The same thing with Tulkarem and Kalkilia. Jenin is a little problem because there are no clans in Jenin. This will need another solution. But after creating all those emirates based on the clans, Israel can remain in the rural areas in order to make sure that those Emirates never become one Palestinian terror state, either led by the Fatah movement, which is vowed to eradicate Israel, or by Hamas, which is also vowed to get rid of Israel altogether. Now, how do I know that this works? This is actually emulation of the Gulf Emirate system. As you know,
Right.
Abu Dhabi is owned by a clan named Al Nahyan. Dubai is owned by a clan named Al Maktoum. Kuwait is owned by a clan named Al Sabah. Saudi Arabia is owned by a clan named Al Saud. And this is how the best way to run a country in the Arab world. Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Sudan, Yemen, Libya, all were established by Western ideas of nationalism, patriotism, socialism in the Ba'ath Party, and so forth. And this is why these are failing states. While those countries, those states, which were established on the clan system, are the only successful countries in the Arab world. Therefore, since we have to follow the successful paradigm other than the failing one, we should emulate the paradigm wherever clans control the place,
Hmm.
just like in those cities which I mentioned. And this is the only peaceful solution which will
Interesting.
give Israel and the Palestinians good life, good future, prosperity, just like it is in Dubai. And as you know, Dubai has no oil. Dubai
Did-
is based on business. And the fact that the place is calm, stable, this is what brings wealth. Not the oil, but the stability of the society. And once we establish the countries based on those clans, this is the hope for stability, prosperity, and peace.
So I noticed that in the list you just had, Lebanon was not exactly on there, and Lebanon is I think it
Lebanon
is
is
a
a
special
failing state,
case.
yes.
Well, I think
No,
that Israel,
Lebanon is a failing state which was established on the Swiss paradigm of groups which live together in one framework, different groups. Each and every one lives
well, yeah,
according to
they
his
had
own
like a
traditions.
sectarian framework that was supposed to expire at
Right.
some point, and it just kind of never did. But assuming that they can actually figure something out, because I am seeing more and more Lebanese officials, intellectuals, and other public personalities saying that Israel is not their enemy, and that indeed they do want peace. I've seen several people say, why should the Gulf countries be the only ones with an Abraham Accord? Why can't we join the list? Do you see a lasting peace on the horizon? If so, or in either case, what are the obstacles to a formation of a lasting peace? And if it is formed, what are the obstacles to its survival?
Well, in Lebanon, there is only one obstacle. It's named Hezbollah. And Hezbollah, another organization which is vowed to get rid of Israel. So all the others, let's assume that all the others are peace lovers and would accept Israel as a Jewish state neighboring Lebanon. Let's assume Hezbollah just read what they say, listen to what they say, read what they write, and I do take them on face value when they say that Israel has no right to exist. So, what do you think they mean? That they can be turned into a peace organization?
No, I mean, no, I don't foresee Hezbollah being a peace organization at any time soon. But I do think that it's
No, anytime at
interesting.
all. No, never mind soon.
No, but yeah, that's basically what I mean. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I do see a growing movement in Lebanon among the intelligentsia, among the political class, who are saying, why are we continuing to be this vassal of Iran? Israel did us a favor by weakening Hezbollah. We should carry the torch from now on. Do you see that as a possibility?
I salute those people. A matter of fact, I'm in connection with some of them. Yet, when they feel secure enough, safe enough to do it, they know exactly whom to approach in Israel and whom to sit with and whom to sign with, whatever they like. Yet, their life expectancy will not be very high. Just look at what happened to Bashir Jumail, who dared to do exactly this
Mm.
in 1987.
So you don't see, well, okay, obviously Hezbollah is not going to go anywhere without a fight. Uh, but do you not think that in the event that Lebanon is actually gets serious and the voices for peace grow cacophonous enough, is that something that they might even turn to Israel or the West for help in doing, or would that maybe even undermine its efforts for a legitimate independence?
The only help which Israel can give them is to convince Hezbollah to accept Israel. Now, convincing Hezbollah, it either needs talk to Hezbollah and hope that they agree to accept Israel, or to twist their arm or to chop their arm so they cannot shoot us anymore. So this is, we have to be realistic. With all respect to the dreams of people in the world who would like to see the Middle East as peaceful and everybody sits around one fire and everybody sings Kumbaya together, yet the Middle East is a very problematic area. People here are still fighting, the Sunni and the Shia, who are still fighting, each other. You know what they fight about? They fought about the heritage or succession of Muhammad, who died in 632 CE. And they are still fighting until this very day. For 14 centuries already, they are fighting who was the legitimate successor of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him. Okay? So this is the Middle East. People will fight you. People will fight each other for 2 centuries on these questions.
So to argue that point, we see this in many areas. That's true. But it's been argued that the Arab world in general, particularly under the Ottoman Empire, was kept, in a sense, in the dark, and therefore in Islam's infancy as a world religion, as a people, etc. And now, with the advent of the internet, with people being more connected than ever, that it is a possibility that their growth, so to speak, their evolution into a religion that can kind of do away with the more violent aspects, as we could easily say was the same in Christianity between the Protestants and the Catholics, etc., that their growth and evolution would be expedited. And that if we look to maybe some of the more successful countries in the Emirates, not in the Emirates, in the Gulf, for example, that this is maybe not so much what they're fighting about, that they don't really care so much about that.
Right. Look, first of all, today we are in the Islamic year of 1445. This is the Islamic year, the Hijri, according to the Hijri calendar. How did Europe look like in 1445? Fights between Protestants and Catholics, 100-year war, 30 years war, the 15th century. Europe was rather in the dark ages of Absolutely. Fighting, under religious issues and many others.
But they didn't have the internet either, and that was kind of my point, is that things are moving faster today. Okay.
Wait a minute. Let's give Islam the chance to become more, let's say, calm when it comes to its 21st century as it is in Europe today. We have to wait like 600 years. And as we say in Hebrew, let's live and see how Islam moves from its 15th century to the 21st century in 600 years. This is the first thing. Second thing, Don't forget that Europe actually gave up on religion. Most Europeans today whose grandfathers were Christian, were defined themselves as Christians, today they define themselves as atheists. This is at least Western Europe. Muslims very rarely will present themselves as atheists, those who live Islam. Because, if you announce that if you are a Muslim and you announce that you left Islam,
Yeah,
you know what
apostasy.
people will do to you.
Yeah.
You are an apostate. An apostate, his verdict is one, to be slaughtered. So, Islam has to change a little bit its attitude to secularism, to atheism, in order to become more, I would say, civilized as the world today. As long as the radicals in Islam have the lead because of violence, all the others who might be very moderate and very calm, like in the Emirates, they have no influence on the radicals at all. And as we say in Aramaic, Kol de alim gvar, whoever is violent, he will take over. Because in any encounter between a violent side and a non-violent side, always the violent side will take over because he's violent. And this is by definition. So, as long as violent Muslims, either Hezbollah or Hamas or many other organizations like even ISIS, are there, the voice of the moderate ones is very nice, but yet its influence is zero or even below.
All right. Dr. Mordechai Kedar, I think that's our time today. Thank you so much again for joining. Any final word, 30-second message to the world?
Look, Israel can survive in the Middle East or can have peace, temporary peace, if Israel is strong, united, deterring, and invincible. Israel can enjoy temporary peace because this is what Muslims can give Israel if Israel is powerful, deterring, invincible. However, if Israel will be deterring, dangerous, invincible forever, Israel will enjoy a temporary peace forever.
All right. Dr. Kedar, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, and thank everyone else for at home for watching. Remember to subscribe, comment, and share. Any and every engagement, of course, helps the channel, and it is very much appreciated. Check out Newsreal, the 24/7 news application covering the Middle East with Moti Kedar as the vice president. And as always, stay curious and stay kind. Thank you so much.